Did you know that having a C-section can actually delay your milk from coming in for up to a week? I know, but don't worry. In this video, I'm going to share some tips on how to turn that around. Before we get started though, I want to welcome you to my channel. And in case it's your first time here, my name is Khalifa. I'm a mommy of two, and I'm also a registered dietitian who specializes in prenatal nutrition, and I'm a certified breastfeeding specialist. I wanted to take a chance to share a little bit about my personal journey when it was my first time breastfeeding, and basically share what happened to me that almost resulted in me giving up on breastfeeding altogether. And along the way, I was able to basically find some strategies that helped me to increase my milk supply after having a C-section. So it all started back when I was 33 weeks along in my pregnancy, and I was suddenly diagnosed with severe preeclampsia. Now, this was the most strangest thing because I felt completely normal. I had no idea anything was going on. I had simply gone in for a routine prenatal checkup, and next thing I knew, I was being told my blood pressure was high, I had proteins in my urine, and I needed to make my way to the emergency straight away. So I did so. Lots of tests were being run, and next thing you know, I was told that my baby is too small for the length of gestation that we're at, and things were really, really wrong. And I was rushed off to be admitted to the hospital, a different hospital, a high care, more intensive care hospital by ambulance. So then I stayed in the hospital for the next 10 days, and I was told by the team that things are not progressing as they like it to, and they have to take the baby out. So I ended up undergoing an emergency C-section, and my baby was born about 2 months premature, super, super tiny. She was only 2 pounds, whisked off to the NICU. I didn't get a chance to even hold her properly because they were sewing me up, and it just ruined all my birth plans that I had in my mind. Um, you know, as a healthcare professional, I know how important breastfeeding is, and it's something that has always been very important to me. I knew that I wanted to breastfeed her within the first hour of birth. That went out the window because I actually was only able to try to attempt putting her to the breast the next day. It was like the evening time. She was all hooked up with cords and whatnot. And needless to say, it was highly stressful and discouraging to say the least, because I was given a pump and told, pump, express colostrum, every drop counts. Fast forward to a few days later, after having my C-section, my milk still has not come in. I'm freaking out because my baby is so small. She's depending on me for this nourishment that she needs, and I am not able to provide it to her. I feel like I'm failing as a mom. I am so stressed out. I'm like still trying to physically recover from the surgery. And yeah, like my nutrition went out the window. I just felt like it was like the end of the world for me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give up on breastfeeding. Thank God I didn't, though. So at this point, I had been told by the lactation consultant on the ward that I was experiencing something called a delay in my milk production. And I was, it's already been 5, 6 days, and I'm only able to express, small amounts of colostrum because colostrum doesn't come in very large quantities. Um, it was about the 6th or 7th day actually where my milk finally came in. And so unlike the typical 3 to 4 day mark, it was the 6, 7 day mark when my milk came in. And so this is common with delayed milk production. And I just wanted to talk about why this happens. So it happens commonly with C-section moms, and it has to do with a lot of different things. Um, don't get me wrong. If you have a C-section, it doesn't mean that you will experience delayed milk supply. I'm just saying that it can happen. And so, and vice versa, it could happen even without a C-section because it has a lot to do with side effects from the strong medications that are given during the labor process. And it also has a lot to do with the physical and mental stress of giving birth. So remember, breastfeeding has a lot to do with hormones. Your hormones are highly affected by the amount of stress that you have, and so it's like a whole cycle of things. And so another factor was actually the delay in the time before having your first feed. So remember, my daughter, she was whisked off to the NICU, and there was a long time delay before I was actually able to initiate breastfeeding, putting her to the breast. Ideally, you want to initiate breastfeeding within the first hour of giving birth to baby. So there was a lot of things working against me. All that to say is, it is a common struggle that moms face, especially first-time moms, and not to be disheartened, not to be overly worried or anxious. Just know that there is a solution and that these things can be overcome with the right approach. So let's get into the solutions. The very most important and easiest thing to do is skin to skin. Skin to skin is not only great for bonding and comfort and stabilizing babies' temperature, and so stabilizing their heart rate. There's so many reasons why skin to skin is beneficial, but it has been scientifically proven to stimulate milk production, which means that you could actually boost your milk supply by doing skin to skin. And then the second thing is to do frequent expressions of colostrum, whether you're hand expressing or pumping. So the goal here is to do short, frequent sessions. They don't have to be long, max 10 minutes at a time. Try to get as much colostrum as you can. Every drop counts. So luckily, I did not give up. I pushed through, and I was actually able to increase my milk supply to the point that I was able to donate milk to the milk bank and give it to babies in need who are in the same position as my daughter, who was relying on donated breast milk for the first couple of days. So that was really special. So now we know the reasons what causes delayed milk supply. We know some solutions. I got to tell you this. I wish I knew this ahead of time. So I'm going to share it with you. You can do something called colostrum harvesting. So this is when you start to collect and harvest colostrum while you're pregnant, before you actually give birth. They recommend not to start this before 37 weeks of pregnancy because it actually has been shown to induce labor. And please, I'm a healthcare professional. I gotta, give you the heads up. You always, always, always want to discuss these things with your healthcare provider. So if colostrum harvesting is something that you would consider doing, which I highly suggest you do, discuss it with your doctor, discuss it with your healthcare provider, your midwife, whomever's following you throughout your pregnancy. So what you would do if you're going to do some colostrum harvesting is at around 37 weeks of pregnancy, twice a day, you're going to try to hand express your colostrum. And don't worry if you don't get anything the first few times. You may not get anything the first few times. It's totally normal. After a while of frequent hand expression, or you could use a pump. I chose to use a pump because I never really got the hand expressions, believe it or not. I'm a certified breastfeeding specialist, and even I found it tricky. I use the pump. That's okay. But you do it twice a day for about 10 minutes total. So 10-minute sessions, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And over time, you could increase the length of that, but I wouldn't go more than 15-minute sessions, and I wouldn't do it more than 3 times a day. You will start to collect a little stash of colostrum that you could bring with you to the hospital. Now, this comes in such handy if you're having trouble latching baby, having a rough time initiating breastfeeding. Even as a second-time mom, I know the first few days, you really got to get the hang of it. There's a little bit of a learning curve. And so it's just really reassuring to know that you have these feeds, these full feeds that you could give baby, because literally just 1 ml of colostrum is a full feed. So you would collect your colostrum in these small syringes. See, I have these tiny syringes. This is a 1 ml syringe of colostrum that I still have pumped that I had pumped when I was pregnant with my son. I'm 15 months postpartum right now. I'm still breastfeeding him. And I have this from when I was pregnant with him. And I choose to save these to give to him when he's really sick, because colostrum is full of such dense, rich nutritional factors and immunological factors that help with colds and viruses and antibacterial properties. So I love it. It's really the best thing you could give to a baby when they're sick or if they have an infection or something. So I collected my colostrum in these small syringes and I put them in the freezer. And I walked with a little bag of these. I had about 6 or 7 of these, and I brought these with me to the hospital. And I was able to give baby when I felt like if I felt like he wasn't getting enough from the breast, or sometimes they cluster feed, and that's all to help stimulate your milk production. And I was able to give him these syringes of colostrum. So really comes in handy. It's great. It's really useful if your baby has any kind of medical complications like jaundice or low blood sugar. You have these feeds to give them, and you're just looking to collect between 1 and 5 mLs of colostrum, So, and that's because their stomach is so small, they really can't hold a lot of volume in those first few days of life. So it's perfect. It's perfect. It's just enough. You don't have to collect a lot, just small amounts, and it's enough. And so, yeah, that is a secret weapon that I leave you with, because it's just really reassuring to know that you have this as a backup if the initial days of breastfeeding is rough. So yeah, colostrum harvesting, and obviously it helps to stimulate your milk production ahead of time, so you're ready to go when you give birth. So I hope that these tips were helpful for you if you're expecting or you're a first-time mom breastfeeding and you're experiencing delay in your milk supply. Just know that there are definitely solutions. There's ways to overcome it, and please always never hesitate to ask for help from a lactation expert or your healthcare provider, or even a prenatal nutritionist such as myself. uh, we have resources to help you. And I actually have a website, which I will place in the description box, which has tons of nutrition resources and solutions that I offer that are specifically made and tailored for the needs of pregnancy and for postpartum breastfeeding needs. So um, feel free to take a look at that. So I really hope that if this video was helpful for you, you're gonna go ahead and hit the like button, and please stay tuned. I'll be sharing more videos. I want you to stay empowered and take control of your health, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.